must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
For joining us today. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and we're coming to you all the way from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. Of course, the television station is Punchline Africa TV, where we've made it our business to advance the African narrative and to tell our own stories. Thank you so much for finding time to be with us. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. Of course, a day that a showdown is looming in the U.S. Senate there, as the Vice President Mike Pence, the outgoing Vice President Mike Pence, gets to certify the last stage of the elections that happened 2 months ago, and so let's see how that will pan out. But that will be a subject for another topic altogether. So right now, I'll take us through the news-making headlines across Kenya by looking through the leading newspapers here, the Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, as well as the Star newspaper. And while we do that, we'll also have a conversation about that interview that Amos Kimunya, the leader of majority in Parliament, yesterday had on one of the local television station, responding to that letter by the majority leader in Senate, Kenyatta, the letter that he purportedly wrote to President Kenyatta, and some miracle happened, and it was linked to the media. Now we have to talk about it. All right, so we have a lot to look at this morning. So joining me on the other side is Kidi Mwaga, a lawyer based here in Nairobi. Kidi, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our viewers, depending from where they're watching us from in Kenya and around the world. And it's nice showing up here once again with you.
All right, very well. And I'm also joined by, the other person from the other end. Is that Javen? Javen, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to viewers wherever they are watching us from. And good morning to my co-panelist, Kidi Mwanga. And good morning. Thank you.
All right. I like your backdrop. It's just versatile. You keep changing and just, giving us different, backgrounds there, which is lovely. Thank you. But I love the red. Thank you so much. Before we get into...
Unless you are saying you didn't notice the blue, which is associated with power.
Listen, blue is my favorite color, but red also, but so we're all good. Kidi, yours also is lovely. Thank you so much. So before we get into the news, let's just bring us up to date with the latest statistics in regards to COVID-19. As in Kenya this morning, the confirmed cases stands at 97,127 cases. The death toll has topped 1,690. Recovery so far is at 79,357. Uganda confirmed cases is 36,050. The death toll in Uganda is 274, and recoveries is at 12,267. And is it yesterday I was reading a news somewhere, and is it Seychelles? 1 year later, they recorded the first death. How nice is that? Okay, it's not nice that somebody has died, but there has to be something they're doing that is right. I don't know if maybe it's the hot weather over there. I don't know, but I mean, there's something there. They just recorded their first death yesterday. So the total cases in Africa stands at 2,702,555, and the number of deaths 92,113, and the people that have recovered so far in the continent is at 2,531,577. The global statistics have surpassed 86.8 million cases. The death toll have surpassed 1.8 million, and the global recovery stands at 61,533,599. So there you go, coronavirus. And of course, it is expected that the numbers will continue to rise. The global figures, especially after coming from that festive season where people are told don't travel, but people traveled anyway. So that is not very good when it comes to the spread of coronavirus. So let's now just get into it. And I don't know if any of you watched that interview by the leader of Majority in Parliament, Amos Kimunya. Akidi, were you able to watch that interview on Citizen television last night?
Without a doubt. I took time and listened in. Yes,
all right. So what stood out for you?
One thing that stood out for me is that Kimunya has got a solid understanding of how government should operate, which speaks to Kangata's lack of tact and experience and restraint on his part as a leader of majority in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it also speaks out to the fact that Kangata was speaking from a point of absolute ignorance, which of course is also motivated by politics of succession politics, which he seems to have been mired into, considering that he was previously from Tanga, so that him coming out and giving us a letter and citing a research that is not scientific, that also stood out. That as a leader of majority and as someone who was purporting to speak on a matter of grave national importance like BBI, at the very least, he should have been scientific when talking about Mount Kenya.
All right.
When he talks about things like diminished household income and attributing it to BBI, that was also demonstrated naivety, because as Honorable Kimunya rightly pointed out, with the stay-at-home measures that was advocated for both by the WHO and by the respective ministries of health across the world, it meant that productivity went down significantly. And with the reduced productivity, because people could not be in industries, it also meant that household income, as a matter of fact, was going to diminish. So that when Kangata is not speaking to some of these issues, so one thing that the interview achieved was to paint Kangata for whom he is, a novice who is insincere, who is motivated by ulterior motives. Thank you.
All right, Ferrol, thank you so much. And we're also joined by Douglas Kirimi, all the way from Meru County, representing there. Douglas, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to our crew back in our headquarters in Nairobi, and good morning to all our friends around the world. Good morning to my friend Jevan Karanja and my friend Roya Kidimwaga.
All right, Ferrol, thank you so much. Jevan, did you watch that interview last night? And if you did, what did you make of the response that was given by Amos Kimunya, the Member of Parliament for Kipipiri?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And my observation is not quite different from what Kidi observed, because it was quite clear that Amos Kimunya is one man who knows his role as a national leader and the majority leader for that in the National Assembly. And he really painted out the one or two things that Kangata is, because we understand previously Kangata was in Tanga, and now he was speaking from maybe he want to go back to Tanga, but he's trying to use other means, unlike what politicians used to do, to go in public gathering and you declare it publicly. Irungu Kangata is trying to beat around the bush by pretending to doing some scientific survey. And the one thing Kimunya said is about the research and the letter Irungu Kangata wrote. And he was quite clear that we have not yet started the campaign, and we cannot gauge the level of support with something that has not been taken to the people to popularize it or to campaign for it in that matter, because they are still on the verification stage. And number two, he said that if you want to do a survey that you know the quantity of the number of the quality, the quantitative figures of the number of people who came out to give their opinion, carry out as something that you can explain, something that you have stored, and you can prove to the public that these are the kind of respondents that I got, and that these are number of people who responded. They said this and they said, so that we can understand the kind of survey that he was doing. Because Miriam, you can have a survey that is open-ended or closed questionnaires. Now we need to know those kind of things, whether they were put in consideration. Therefore, Kemunya said it out that this survey was done out of miscellaneous or malicious motives, and to paint that the president is not with the ground in the Mount Kenya region. And the majority leader said and painted a picture of something that we are waiting to see how it will transpire as we move on in the future.
All right, thank you so much, Douglas. I'm sure you watched this interview, rebuttal by the majority leader in Parliament, Amos Kimunya, yesterday when he was responding to that letter by the majority leader in Senate. What stood out for you?
Thank you, Miriam, and thank you for my other two friends for their own contribution. I would not be different from my thought, and in politics, people should learn to see what is being said without necessarily seeing what is being said. Because what was said by Kangata is not what I'm seeing. The other day, Kangata and a few other leaders were in Murang'a Kigumo constituency at the burial of grandmother to Betty Maina, Director at the Water Services. And when they were there, Moses Kuria, the leader of PIP, the People's Empowerment Party, and also a member of Jubilee Party, a member for Gatundu South constituency, said something that stood out for me and that I'm linking to this morning.
People's
Moses
Empowerment
Kuria
Party?
said,
we have a party called
yes,
People's Empowerment Party. I did not know that.
Yes, a party that has won in Gaturi Ward in Murang'a County, and he is also planning to use the same party. If the by-election is held in Nairobi, Philip Kisia, the former town clerk, is going to run under that party.
Okay.
What Moses Kuria said is that Moses Kuria and Irungu Kangata representing Jubilee for his own interest, and Moses Kuria representing Tanga movement, they under caucus throughout of, December. And when now Kangata went to consult his team, he did not come with a conclusive answer. And what answer do we find out? Moses Kuria and a few Mount Kenya leaders were in Tanga. This is my perception, and this is what I want to be held account for. They felt that they are being left out in the BBI consultative meetings and all that. They came up with proposals that were captured in that letter that was drafted and also written but signed by Dennis Itumbi but signed by Irungu Kangata, because Irungu Kangata is part and parcel of Tanga. What they did is that they wanted a well-resourced office of Secretary General to handle MPs, specifically those that would want to support BBI but have no resources and have not tasted the BBI funds. And when Moses Kuria and his team failed to do so, and also for them to be able to scatter the whole process, when they failed to do so, Kangata had to come out and also brandish that letter. It is said in some quarters and actually in the media that Irungu Kangata phone has been off since the day the letter was leaked to the public. What Irungu Kangata has been able to come out, according to the leader of majority in the National Assembly on Amos Kimunya, is that Irungu Kangata bet all protocols and also disregarded channels of communication in order for him to be able to air his grievances concerning the BBI. What we can be able to deduce from this is that they wanted to address the president directly for him to be able to partly, like Amos Kimunya, the Honorable Amos Kimunya was saying, to seek attention, and number two, to be able to advocate for his own Tanga movement agenda. What was this agenda? The agenda was to embarrass the president, Secondly, the agenda was to scatter the BBI process because we have seen the machinations that have been employed for the last 2 years and some months now by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable William Ruto, to scatter the BBI process, which has not been able to succeed. From day one, he has been sponsoring the likes of Moses Kuria, Irungu Kangata when he was in Tangatanga before he changed colors. But now we have seen he has now become a chameleon. In the morning, he is Tangatanga, at night he is Jubilee. During the day is Jubilee, at night is Tangatanga. What we can be able to do to deduce here is that, one, the letter was written by Rungu Kangata to support Tangatanga, two, to embarrass the president, and three, to scuttle the BBI process, which is the biggest headache in the corner, in the house corner of the President William Ruto. And at the end of the day, Irungu Kangata has been able to fail in this, and I will not stop calling for resignation of majority whip in Senate, the Honorable Dr. Irungu Kangata. Why? Because even leaders themselves in Tangatanga movement who have been meeting Irungu Kangata at night in Mombasa and also in Nairobi at Karen are panicking that he's going to be kicked out of Jubilee Party. What I'm asking the party of President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Vice Chairman of Jubilee, David Murathe, is that they should crack the whip and send Irungu Kangata home. He should be sent to where he came. From Tangatanga he came, to Tangatanga he shall return.
Okay.
I submit.
Very well, Douglas. Thank you there. So a couple of things I was able to get from that interview, and that Amos Kimunya questioned the manner in which, Kangata went ahead to collect this data, that he was able to even compile and give us the percentage there. And from what Kimunya was saying is that he was calling a few members of parliament. Do you support this? No. How do you feel about this? And they give their opinion. So he's saying he called just a few politicians, so he did not really go out to the people and find out their feelings about the BBI. And also Amos Kimunya said that perhaps Kangata was trying to have a moment. Akidi, I'm just curious, why would he try to have a moment with such a very important and very sensitive matter, and the position that he holds as the leader of government business in Senate? Why would he want to do that to his own government that he's supposed to be advancing, its agenda? Kidi. All right,
I told you I'm a stooping old man. I'm grappling to, learn to handle technology.
Old man.
Okay. My response was that it speaks to two things. One of them is naivety. Second one is lack of tact, or what you'd call being motivated by ulterior motives. You know that if we work in institutions with managing partners, with what we have bosses, and the rule of the thumb is that you do not embarrass your boss. So that by Kangata, let's presume that he was acting in good faith. If he was acting in good faith, there was nothing that was stopping Kangata from, one, reaching out to the co-chairs of the BBI Secretariat, Junet Mohammed and Dennis Waweru. The other thing, there was nothing that was stopping him from reaching out to the president, either via mail or call or whatnot. Three, we have the Ministry of Interior, both the PS and the CS, and reaching out to them would not have been an uphill task. But now that takes me to the second point. That one, it means that he was not acting in good faith. Secondly, that speaks that there was no tact. Secondly, if he was speaking in good faith, he would have first conducted a scientific study. And in that study, researchers have got certain biases. So one, he would have first accounted for such biases. One, the fact that in Mount Kenya, Tangatanga, through William Ruto and his attack dogs in central Kenya, have consistently bastardized the BBI process to the extent of making an ordinary person, brainwashing the ordinary person in central Kenya that BBI is a conversation about dynasties, about Uhuru clinging to power, about 2022 elections, without speaking to the pertinent issues, governance issues that the BBI process raises. One is that how do we ensure that we move away from the cyclic electoral violence, cycle of electoral violence every 5 years. That is a fundamental question that the Tangatanga wing has never responded to, that Irungu Kangata was not responding to. And as a leader, he should have pointed out that, I mean, what he did was to reiterate the usual cheap bad talk that Tangatanga has been peddling against the BBI process. Finally, it also demonstrates that something about Irungu's character. The Bible says that to him whom much is given, much is also expected. We know that as a leader of majority, when we had the controversial debate of revenue sharing formula, he demonstrated weakness of monumental attitude. Because one, he was unable to whip members of his own coalition to rally behind the position of the government. And now that this letter has come out, it has demonstrated that all along he has been flirting and canoodling with Tangatanga. And it is now incumbent upon the party leadership to ensure that he is reprimanded and disciplinary measures are taken immediately.
All right, very well. And it's interesting you brought up that issue. We saw the circus that was there in Senate or during the debates on the revenue allocation formula there, and he did not show a very strong leadership there. So maybe now when you take a retrospect, you can perhaps that was intentional. I don't know. Maybe that is what some people could be thinking. Why is it that he was a bit passive? He was not very strong, and he did not show leadership during that time. But now when you look at how things have played out, one might want to think that perhaps that was intentional. But I don't know. You can judge that for yourself. So let's just turn our attention now to the Standard newspaper. The front pages there: inside push to reclaim Central. Lull before the storm. The events triggered by a letter from Senate Majority Whip Irungu Kangata point to a bigger scheme to consolidate the Mount Kenya region. Through it, a wider political offensive against DP Ruto's grip may have just begun. The story is on page 6 of the Standard newspaper. And the measured furore created by Senate Majority Leader Irungu Kangata's public letter to President Uhuru Kenyatta on the political events in Central could be making way for a major onslaught against Deputy President William Ruto's prospects in the region. Kangata, the author of the letter, has kept a low profile even as theories abound as to the motive or planning around the letter, which triggered currents of political soul-searching among the two major political groupings in the country. A majority whip in the Senate, Kangata sits in the heart of government. He has a fairly meaningful access to the president and has not attracted a major backlash from the movers and shakers of the Jubilee government. Yesterday, State House linked political scientist Mutahi Ngunyi added swell to the growing indication of a bigger plan through his unequivocal tweet in which he said, given Central, who will be out of power for a considerate period of time, difficult choices have to be made. And it continues, that story continues. So, of course, the motive of Kangata here still continues to be questioned. And after releasing that letter, apparently Kangata cannot be found. Even the host, during that interview by Amos Kimunya, the host said, as the television station, they're trying to reach out to Kangata to try to get his side of the story, but his phone has been off. How do you just throw a bombshell and then just decide, I'm not even going to respond to that? That is, what do you make of that, Javan? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And you have brought a very good question, because maybe there's something that we are not seeing. Maybe there's the other side of the letter that might be setting alarm to the deputy president, because as you have compared and from the newspaper, the tweet, and yesterday I followed quite a bit of the tweets that Mutahi Ngunyi was tweeting, and you could see he is now on head, gloves off to the deputy president, and he is telling them that it's either he gives us an option as the Mount Kenya region and tell us what he'll do for us rather than what he is doing now. And he has brought also another kind of a trending hashtag that not really hashtag, but a trending things that is taking momentum, and that is that the presidency now should not go to Kalenjins or Kikuyu, but rather other tribes should be involved, and that's debate that is taking shape. And I have seen a lot of people engaging on that issue. And Miriam, it's true that the presidents have been in these two dominant tribes, and time is right that we bring other people on board. And I think that is some of the issues that the BBI was trying to address when we talk of expanded executive, is to try to kill this motive of having two tribes coming together and forming government, and after that they start now rotating the presidency and these bigger positions around themselves. And when you look at this letter, Miriam, maybe it was a wake-up call to those people who think that is a wake-up call to the government to show them like the deputy president has a glimpse on Mount Kenya region. And when that happens, maybe the deputy president might think of to be relaxed, because at the end of the day, he might think, because I've gone out there to oppose the BBI and 80% of these people are buying to my narrative, then it is time that I concentrate on other regions. And when he does that, maybe now the government and the people who support the Jubilee government and those people who have a say in the Mount Kenya politics, they will come and try to erode all the gains that the deputy president has tried to bring to gain on this issue. And Miriam, that is something that quite started coming to the end of the last year, when we have seen members of parliament coming on the ground to start and educate people on what the Jubilee government has done, what is doing on this region, the development that have been achieved. And this thing, Miriam, have seen, previously, in the start of the year 2020 and around the end of 2019, the pastoralism agenda was quite a big thing in Mount Kenya region. And if you could walk around, you could see even the older people, the younger people, they were buying this narrative of a pastoralism agenda. But Miriam, these days, when you go around, this narrative is losing momentum simply because the members of parliament who are allied to the president have come on the ground and they have tried to demystify this agenda that the president is not performing, that the president has sidelined the region of Mount Kenya region, and people have started to open their eyes. I think this is something that will continue. And following what Agojiri Wambogo said, and this is the man who came up with this Kieleweke thing, he have said that now time is right to go on the ground, and he says that he'll make sure that all these gains, all this pastoralism agenda, all these lies that have been pardoned by the deputy president in the region will be eroded. They will come with the truth and the facts, and they will portray a government, a Jubilee government, as one government that has cared for its people. And on the same note, he has said that the BBI narrative, the BBI process, and the BBI referendum issue that is on with us now, they will come on the ground and sell to the people of Mount Kenya, tell them how they're going to benefit. Because Miriam, as we all know in this discussion today, that Mount Kenya region is one region that it will benefit big out of this BBI because of the number of the constituencies that will be added there, and through the revenue sharing formula, because of the vast population, they are expected to gain a lot. Therefore, they are quite a big thing, and that is something that I expect will come to play on. And as Kangata continues with this letter, we might see him coming up with a new letter to confuse even more. Because Miriam, after this letter, after we go on with 1 or 2, 3 things, he might come with another unscientific research to try and to hit on the issue on the Tangatangas, because we are not quite certain on the motive of this letter as per se, and following the effects events that are following, maybe something is cooking in between. And I also saw the Machakos governor trying to congratulate Mr. Irungu Kangata and saying that he is hitting on the deputy president, a scenario that I have not seen. Maybe Douglas or Kid will tell me, but I have not seen from that perspective.
Yes.
But it's an issue that we are trying to see, and people are reading from different angles. But at the end of the time, Miriam, as I usually say, we'll come to see, and time will tell what was the motive and whether the motive will be achieved at the end of the day.
Yes, and it's interesting you brought up the response response by Machakos Governor there, Alfred Mutua, which I thought was quite interesting. This letter, Douglas, could we be reading it for what it's not? From judging, if you were to base it on what Mutahi Ngunyi here just said.
The first question that we need to ask ourselves before we dive into what has been making news from yesterday and today, are the masses in Mount Kenya read BBI report cover to cover? Have their readers, including the Senate Majority Whip, the Honorable Dr. Irungu Kangata, given the people of Muranga, especially Skiaro backyard, cover to cover booklet of BBI report? This, not the senator, I always confuse him with the senator. The governor of Meru, the Honorable Keraito Murungi, is supposedly to be a senator, because when you are a senator, you are a senator. So the senator, Governor Keraito Murungi of Meru, went on TV yesterday and asked, why is Kangata giving us an hypothesis of a report that the people and the masses have not read? Majority of these people, of these MPs who are talking about popularization of BBI report, have been eating from the hands of the most corrupt deputy president that we have had in the history of this country. And when I say the deputy president, William Ruto, is corrupt, it is true. When it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. Because Deputy President William Ruto stole the Aurora and Kimwarel dam money, 63 billion, and he said the money that was lost is about 7 million. He has associated himself with a lot of thieves and also said that independent institutions should not be able to prosecute these people. They are innocent. God is fighting their battles. What I'm thinking about this letter from Irungu Kangata is that it is just Mauritius' campaign and also to embarrass the president from Tangatanga. These people from Mount Kenya region, the masses, the poor people that Irungu Kangata conducted the BBI unscientific with a very bad methodology research, is that these people have not read the report. Then what are they debating on? Can you support something you have not seen? There is no one that can support something that they have not seen. The majority of our readers have been eating from the hand of Deputy President William Ruto. Like I have said, they are on a subscription. Every Friday they receive some money. Every Saturday and Sunday they go for Arambis. And when these people come today and tell us today, especially Rungo Kangata, who has not even called for a single meeting to support BBI report in Mount Kenya region, in Nyeri, in Meru, in Embu, and Kirinyaga, and Kiambu, and even Muranga in his own backyard, they cannot purport to do a scientific unscientific research on something that the people have not seen. What I know is that the BBI Secretariat is planning to roll out civic education among our people and among the people of this country. As a nation, as a people, as communities, we are going to interrogate and we are going to read the BBI report for ourselves so that we can make a decision come 21st of June 2021. We shall embarrass this year. We shall embarrass Irungu Kangata, Deputy President William Ruto, Moses Kuria and their ilk, because the people of Kenya shall have read, the people of Mount Kenya shall have read the BBI report, and they shall make their good decision based on what they have read for themselves, not what Irungu Kangata has been able to say. Irungu Kangata wrote that letter specifically to embarrass the President of the Republic of Kenya, and I'm asking him to open his phone so that he can be called by Jubilee Party, so that we can be able to replace him with competent sons and daughters of this nation. We can have a Giriama in that seat, not necessarily from Mount Kenya, because Irungu Kangata has achieved his mission of embarrassing the president. And as you can see, Miriam, before Irungu Kangata letter was read in public, it was already circulating in Tangatanga circles. They were speculating what he is about to say. How come that nobody in government knew, even from intelligence sources, knew that this letter is going to the public? Only Tangatanga people knew that it was going on public. What I'm thinking, and this is my perception, that this letter was meant to embarrass the president, whereas we have a BBI secretariat, whereas before we had a task force that was involved in the BBI formulation and also coming up with a report. Today, we have a full secretariat with a CEO and the two co-chairmen, which Irungu Kangata disregarded and broke protocol and addressed the president directly, making the president a tribal king, making up the president a tribal leader, Whereas BBI report is a national issue, is a national project, is a national concern, he made it sound as if it is a Mount Kenya issue, so that he can continue dividing Mount Kenya region, so that he can continue embarrassing the president, so that they can keep their perception that the deputy president has a grip on something that he never had. How can he keep a grip on Mount Kenya people that he does not have? Mount Kenya people are a people geographically located in Mount Kenya region. How can they claim to come and scatter people that they never had in the first place? The man comes from Sugoi, and that is where he comes from. Geographically, we place him at Sugoi. How can he come geographically and displace us and also turn us into his sheep?
All right.
Deputy President William Ruto, this morning we are not your sheep. The people that you sent Irungu Kangata, the elders have spoken this morning. The Kangata is in his own. Deputy President is in his own. Mount Kenya region is united, and BBI is not a Mount Kenya issue, Miriam.
Yes.
And thank you. And this is my point.
All right. Very well, Douglas. Thank you so much. And also just a reminder there, after the proposed allocation of the 70 proposed new constituencies, we saw there, the allies of Deputy President Oscar Sudi and somebody else, I can't remember the other name, and they said they're actually happy because now the Deputy President might actually benefit from these new constituencies that have been created in the Mount Kenya region. So there's this very vested interest, obviously, that Deputy President has in the politics of Mount Kenya region. Of course, it's very rich in votes there, so that will make, I think, a lot of sense. So let's look at the other side of that, and this is the letter here by Mutua. The Standard newspaper has a bit of it here on page 6, and I'll just read. I think all of the story is not very long. Machakos Governor and Maendeleo Chapcha Party leader Alfred Mutua has praised the Senate Majority Chief Whip Irungu Kangata for saying that building bridges initiative is likely to fail in central Kenya. All right. In a statement to the newsroom yesterday, Dr. Mutua said Kangata's letter to President Kenyatta made public the propaganda being perpetrated by those opposed to the BBI. By speaking about the challenges as he sees them, he has issued a call to arms, which has now made BBI and its success, especially in Mount Kenya region, an issue of debate and hopefully action, he said. In a letter to the President Kenyatta, Kangata warned that BBI faces resistance in Central and urged him to personally take charge of the campaigns. The grappling factions in Jubilee have deployed heavy propaganda and capitalized on few missteps in the constitutional amendment bill to mobilize against it. The letter copied to Jubilee Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju read in part. Now, according to what Mutua is saying, perhaps from what I'm hearing to be saying, maybe this letter is a good thing, because now then a Jubilee Party, after Kangata pointed all these issues that I don't know how he was able to get that data, but maybe they'll use this opportunity to take on the challenge and try to address some of those things that are being raised there in central Kenya. And so Mutua is saying the letter is actually not bad. And so now we are able to, they can take this as a challenge and use this to their own advantage. Can we perhaps see that happening in regards to after this letter? Can the Jubilee government be able to turn this around, especially President Uhuru Kenyatta's side, and address perhaps some of these issues or concerns that are said to have, the people of the Mountain Kenya region have, and use this, turn this letter around and use this to their own advantage? Is it likely that they could capitalize on this, Kidi?
Well, I think that a responsible government must always respond to all the concerns of its people. When the president gets back, of course, we anticipate his address. Some of the issues that Kangata raises, I said Kangata, not Karanga, that Kangata raises, like diminished income, especially in the central Kenya where the study supposedly took place, is not a phenomenon that is restricted to central Kenya. It is a phenomenon that is cutting across the world today, especially in the face of COVID-19. So that I think when the president gets back, we anticipate that part of his address would tell us things to the effect that how do we increase or rejuvenate internal productivity in the face of disruptions in the productive sector, that is in the manufacturing, in the financial sector, and in several other sectors that, of course, were disrupted by COVID. Secondly, there is the issue that only, is it 6 people out of 10 that support, or is it 4 people out of 10? Even if it were 1 person out of 10, truth is, we haven't been able to, the Secretariat has not given out the document, and sufficient public participation has not been done. So that we anticipate that, when the president comes to reassure the country, he will also give us a clear, broad steps on how public participation shall be taking place and how to ensure that a greater number of people are involved in this process. But I think that Kangata's letter is a tirade of a randy child that should be treated with the contempt it deserves.
All right. Thank you. Jevan, is it possible, for President Uhuru Kenyatta's side of the Jubilee fraction to actually use this letter or this moment to capitalize and see, are they able to address these issues, that Kenyatta seems to raise from these, these concerns? Are they able to address it, and are they able to now to use this opportunity to reach out to the people and try to turn around this tide?
Yeah, Miriam, that is a good question, and let me answer it in this manner. One, the letter, to say, is not scientific. It does not reflect the issues that are on the ground. And I wish Kangata did a genuine and a genuine survey that could reflect what the ground says in Mount Kenya region. Therefore, Miriam, I don't see Jubilee government going on to implement some of these issues, because Kangata was calling on major things that are not holding any water and things that are not benefit the commoners in this region. But he was just anchoring what the deputy president has been saying for quite a period of time. Because when you look at the issue of the Jubilee Party leadership, how the Jubilee Party is running its business, that is an issue that the Tanga has a problem with. When you look at the multiple choice referendum, these are issues that the deputy president has been calling on, so that Kenyans go for a referendum that will have to use to vote more, to be represented with a multiple choice referendum. Therefore, these things don't reflect issues on Mount Kenya region. And on matter of developments, Miriam, these developments are not supposed to come to Mount Kenya region alone. They're supposed to cut across every corner of this nation, because that is the sole purpose of the government. Because when you resume office as the president after an election, you are not a president of those who people voted for you, but you become a head of state. That means you are president to all those who voted for you and those who didn't vote for you. Therefore, the developments are going to all corners of the country, and at some point, the member of parliament, they do some lobbying to get more of these resources coming to their constituencies. Therefore, that maybe is a part of the members of parliament to lobby for more resources to go to their region. And what the government is supposed to do, Miriam, is not to look on what the letter said, but to come on the ground and to popularize what the Jubilee government has achieved in this region. That is, in terms of development, they need to come out and point 1 or 2, 3 things that they have achieved. This is what we promised during the campaign, and this is what we have delivered so far, and this is what we deliver for the remaining term we are in office. That will be a good thing, because the ground, there are some people who have bought all these narratives that are there to poison their minds through the Tangatangas and from other quarters, that the government is not working to the purpose that it was supposed to do, and the promises that they made during the campaign have not been realized. Therefore, they need to come on the ground, popularize what they have been doing, the agenda that they have achieved, and so on, and that will be a very good thing. And on the issue of the BBI, they should continue campaigning for this issue, because, Miriam, if the Jubilee government fails to popularize this agenda of the BBI, then people will tend to buy the narratives from the hustlalism, the narrative of the wheelbarrows. Therefore, what I see the government should do on this issue as we start the new year, this year of 2021, they need to come on the ground specifically, and the Jubilee leadership should set the like-minded individuals on the ground. We don't need people like Ngata will come and after doing 1 or 2, 3 popularization agenda, they'll turn around and start beating on what the government has done. Therefore, they need to come with the ground, popularize what they have achieved, and they come and campaign for, when time comes to campaign for the BBI, they should concentrate more on the benefits that the Mount Kenya region will get. I think that will around all these narrative and hearsay that have been in these and the propagandas in the Mount Kenya region, and at the end of the day, people will be able to make a sober decision on the referendum based on what the government has done. But if they keep aside and they become relaxed, the deputy president will continue overwhelming them with his narratives. At the end of the day, people might intend not to vote for the BBI, not because it was bad, not because it does not benefit, it will not benefit them, but they will tend not to vote for the BBI because of the narratives that have been there. Because, Miriam, if a lie is repeated and somebody repeats to you a lie for a period of time, you tend to believe it's the fact. Therefore, that is something that we need to do, and the government should make their voices more louder in the Mount Kenya region, rather than the voices of the enemies of progress.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think you've touched a couple of issues there that perhaps now the government should focus on. And in line with this letter that Mutua has said, now perhaps this letter should now bring a call of action from the Jubilee side ally to President Uhuru Kenyatta, the pro-BBI. But also a couple of things that you brought up, and also through the interview yesterday, Amos Kimunya, I said perhaps one of the concerns or the people did not get clarification on or are hoping they use as a reason as to why they might, for those who do not want to vote for the BBI, was that the issue of things like coffee and tea were not really addressed in the BBI. The same way the issue of cold, rooms was not addressed in Kisumu for the fishermen, or in Mombasa for the fishermen, or the sugarcane farmers. Their issues are not addressed in the BBI in Kakamega and the rest of the country. And that is because these issues like these are addressed on a policy level. Those are not the things that were supposed to be included in the BBI. So I think that is the kind of narrative that was being fed to a section of this of these campaigns with the politicians, and they're saying, you know what, tea matters to you, coffee matters to you, and look, they've not even captured that in the BBI. And I think there has been some level of representation of information and what really BBI was set out to do. So maybe this, do you think perhaps, is what the government now should come out and counter and say, the BBI, this is a constitutional process, it is not a policy process, and some of these things that you're raising and the concerns you're raising, which are pertinent, this can be addressed through, at the policy level, the ministry level. This cannot be addressed through the BBI. So maybe should the government come out and really clarify, one, what the BBI was set out to do, and two, how can these issues that are being raised, especially from the people there from Mount Kenya when it comes to agriculture, and we know they produce coffee, they produce tea and other things that for a long time they've not been benefiting because of the cartelism that has been there for a very long time. These farmers work hard, and so we can understand their frustration. So can somebody go there and tell them and help them understand? BBI was not set out to address these issues. The government can put up infrastructure through, we've seen it has been doing, but these are issues that can be addressed and will be addressed through, policies, and not necessarily through the BBI, and perhaps make that clarification for them, because they're feeling, because these issues were not addressed there. So that means BBI did not address our concern. Do you think that would work, Douglas?
Miriam, if you listen to, thank you for that question. It's a very good question. But if you listen to the leader of majority, before he listened to him, I would have answered it mentioning the government. At this point, BBI Secretariat is there, is functional, is funded by taxpayers. And before we culminate to pre-referendum days, which is between, I think, April and May, we need to have BBI tours where the Secretariat itself is going to entrench itself to the people, and also roll out civic education to the people of Kenya. Miriam, we cannot trust people who can be paid 10,000 in parliament toilets, in abolition blocks in parliament, when they can be paid 10,000 shillings to scatter the sugar report that are the mercury, so that Kenyans can die as they take $100 from the Rai chairman, Mr. Rai, who is the owner of Cabra Sugar. At the end of the day, what we need to be able to see is this: the BBI report and the civic education that shall be done cannot be trusted in the hands of these politicians. It can only be done through the BBI Secretariat. I think the BBI Secretariat, in conjunction with the people that support BBI, can be able to go out there and educate the people and also educate the masses on the benefits of BBI. This is a constitutional amendment, and this is what we want to put in the constitution, and this is what can be done by your members of parliament who are actually here. What we cannot do now at this point is to drag the president back to his backyard. He is the president of over 44 tribes. He's the president of Western Kenya, Nyanza, Northeastern, Rift Valley, Eastern, and the Central, and everywhere. He is the president of the Republic of Kenya. Mm-hmm. The government is the government of the people of Kenya. It is the government of the Republic of Kenya. The mandate of the government of the Republic of Kenya is not to go to the backyard of the president and also try to educate a few people who are about 6 million votes. And whereas in Kenya we have more than, I think, 47 million people, according to the latest census, over 47 million versus 6 million people who we want the government apparatus, the president, the deputy president, and every one of them, including the opposition, to go and educate on few issues that we can be able to educate them through the BBI report, the BBI report secretariat. What we can be able to deduce from this is that the Honorable Mos Kemunya said these issues can be able to be solved by the secretariat alone, and we don't necessarily need to drag the president back to his backyard. What would the deputy president feel when the Sugoi Farmers Association starts crying that the Ministry of Agriculture is not giving them cattle dips? So they need more cattle dips, and they want the attention of the office of the deputy president directly for him to go and address that in Kalmagut village, in Sugoi village, in Uasin Gishu County. Those issues are non-issues, and he can only direct a sub-chief and a chief to be able to deal with those issues directly, or the county commissioner, without necessarily dragging him into his backyard. And I believe the BBI report, people need to get civic education from the BBI Secretariat directly from the experts, without necessarily crowding it with succession politics and also politics of self-interest and also ulterior motives. The BBI project is a noble project, is a going concern for Kenyans, because it is a panacea to most of our problems as a people and not as regions. Mm-hmm. Miriam, when we reduce the government of the Republic of Kenya and also call the president to go and esteem the opposition to BBI report that the residents themselves have not been able to see, and the BBI report that the residents of Mount Kenya region have not been able to interrogate and also interact with the document, like the president of the Republic of Kenya said. He said, read it for yourself, interrogate the report, and also make a wise decision without crowding it with the politics of Tanga. When you read that BBI report, don't see Raila Odinga, don't see William Ruto, don't see Rungu Kangata as the enemy of the people. When you read BBI report, read BBI report as a constitutional moment that you shall hand over to generations that are yet unborn and that will come. And also for the people, the poor people, the masses in Mount Kenya region. When you read BBI report, as a Mount Kenya resident, as a person from Migori, as a person from Northeastern, read BBI report for your own benefit and for the benefit of where you are. For example, the many constituencies that will be added across the nation means that we shall have more money for CDF, that we shall have more money for bursaries. The poor people that cannot be able to take their children back to school because of coronavirus can be able to access bursaries more. People in counties that not be able to get development funds that cannot be released so that the people can be paid. Contractors should read BBI report in mind that there shall be more money for development in the area, in the counties where they come from. And BBI report is something that we should be able to interrogate as a people and see the benefit as a nation and as a people. Because Miriam, at this point, we cannot be able to bundle and also core BBI report into something that the president should leave State House on the office of the president at Harambee House to come and address directly to the people of Mount Kenya, who are about 6 million votes. And remember, Miriam, we are about 47 million Kenyans. When the president goes to his backyard to steam the BBI rebellion, what will happen to a person in Kuria East? What will happen to a person in Rokichogio? What will happen to a person in Ragdera? What will happen to a person in Peketoni in Lamu? What will happen to a person in Nairobi?
Okay.
So, Miriam, as we listened to the leader of majority in the National Assembly, the Honorable Amos Kemunya, the BBI report secretariat can be able to go there and take these things to the people. I also want to believe that people in Peketoni, in Lamu, people in Ishanzu, people in Kware, in Sambweni have not been able to interact with this document adequately to be able to make their own decision. And the President of the Republic of Kenya said, read the BBI report, understand it on your own, make a decision on your own, without necessarily having a Kangata reading the BBI report for you and writing some tanga intonations into it and also feeding it into our minds.
Okay.
This man has kept the national conversation for about 2 days now. Newspapers are talking about him, a non-script senator from Muranga, a man that is said to embarrass the President of the Republic of Kenya. We cannot be able to give Kangata a benefit of doubt anymore. We need to be able to read this report ourselves and also as our people.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Douglas. And I'm sure, thank you so much. Very passionate there. Very passionate there. And I'm sure once, because right now, as I'm looking at the star on page 7, BBI signature verification will be done in 2 weeks, and the clerks are burning the midnight oil to ensure the task is completed in a fortnight. And so there's no more room for changes. There's no more room for any acrobatics anymore. So where it has reached, I think the BBI train left the station long time ago, and from what we've been seeing, I think those are the last minute efforts to try to scuttle the process. That is what a section of politicians in this country are saying. So now, I'm sure after this and after the voting in the counties, the copy will be made available the same way they did during the Constitution in 2010. I still have my copy in the house. It was made available, and we're able to get it from the local level, the chief's offices, and all of that. So I'm sure by the time it gets to June, where Kenyans will have an opportunity to vote for this, they will have had an opportunity to go through this process. And they, of course, the government also will run a couple of campaigns and just civil education and all that to ensure that Kenyans, as they are set out to go there and vote, they will be voting based on knowledge, based on information, and based on the content that they have read for themselves and decided, I want to support this, or I don't want to support that. But that will be based on, I will come from a place of knowledge after we've gone through. So I have confidence, and I believe the government will have the copies available, because that will be very important. Because as it is right now, perhaps not so many people have been able to get an opportunity to read. I know the government has twice, and I have the copies, have made that available in the newspapers. But how many Kenyans can afford to buy a newspaper or has access to the newspaper, especially from the grassroots levels? I'm hoping that is something the government will address, and so we are able to read for ourselves and then decide based on the content, not what our politicians are telling us. These people are very crafty sometimes, and they will just give us the piecemeal of the side they want us to hear, and and the messaging and what they want to sell to us. So if we are able to just read it for ourselves, I think that will do us a lot of good. And also, yes, the verification will be done in 2 weeks. And also on page 4 of the Star newspaper, how DP route schemes to penetrate enemy territory. And they're saying their coalition deputy president plans to enter into deals with regional and little-known political parties ahead of 2022 general election. And they've mentioned here the Service Party with that lazy. I find that heart emoji. I mean, Kiunjuri. Get tough to a bit creative. How do you just take a heart emoji, place it there, and that becomes a logo for a party? That was really lazy. So the Service Party, by Mwangi Kiunchuri, a former CS for Agriculture. The People's Empowerment Party, that is associated with Gatundu South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria, and also New Democratic Party came to the limelight last month when it won Naivasha Lakeview Ward. And People's Democratic Party, led by former South Mugirango Member of Parliament Omingo Magara, to accommodate Gusii region, and United Democratic Alliance, formerly known as Party for Development Reform, former Machako Senator Johnson Muthama set to lead it, and also a Coast Party to be unveiled soon. The Coast people, they keep unveiling their parties every now and then. I've even lost track how many parties they have over there. But that is what is happening there. So according to this story, the DP is planning to consolidate all these parties and have a coalition as it sets to go. Why did they not mention Jubilee Asili? Or that was just the name of the building, not a party. You remember Jubilee Asili with the yellow? What became of that? I don't know, but we'll see how that will continue to play out. So thank you so much, Kidi Mwaga. Thank you so much, Jevan Karanja, and thank you so much, Douglas Kirimi. We shall be back here at 11 a.m. With more conversation about what is happening here in the country. And of course, thank you so much, our viewers, for watching. This has been Good Morning Africa, and we have been going through the news making headlines in Kenya this morning by going through the newspapers. I did not look at the Daily Nation because it's still the same thing. It talks about the same thing. Also, the Star talks about the same thing. So that's why I did not dwell too much of what it's saying here. And of course, the schools opened on Monday, and they continue to talk about what's really happening in the states of our schools and how the children there are settling in with the new normal, even as the cases of COVID-19 and the threats continue there. So things that we have to grapple with. Thank you so much. I'll see you here back at 11 a.m. with the rest of the panelists. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning to you.